We are back. It is the ML Sports Platter. It's all brought to you by our good friends at Stanley Law Offices, Brewerton Ace Hardware, and Burn Dairy. Stop by today for a deli sandwich and gas up your vehicle at Burn Dairy. It's all good. Participating locations around Central New York, including the brand new one on Route 49 in the Central Square area. Look who I brought on, a good pal of mine, a great guy, and awesome at his job, the Buffalo Bills beat man and insider for the Democrat and Chronicle out in Rochester, Sal Maiorana. Sal, how are you, man?
Good, Mike. How are we doing today?
I'm hanging in there after another busy weekend of everything, and I'm going to get a World Series prediction from you at the end of this, by the way. I know the Bills play the Titans. I'm going to get to that and where they're at and all that, but there's one topic that I've been dying to ask my next Bills guest, and you're going to get it. It's Dawson Knox. Who is he? What does he do? What do they want to do? They're paying him a boatload of money. I think he's a great guy. He's Josh Allen's buddy. Obviously went through a ton of stuff personally with his brother a couple of years ago. But from a football standpoint, what in the world is Dawson Knox at this moment?
Yeah, right now, Mike, he's the most overpaid blocking tight end in the NFL. That's kind of what's happened to his career. The writing was on the wall last year when they drafted Kincaid. Right. And I never understood. I still don't quite understand the Kincaid draft pick because they had just given Dawson Knox the big contract extension. They were paying him. He's one of the highest paid tight ends in the NFL. And then you turn around and draft Dalton Kincaid in the first round last year. And they essentially told us he's going to be our number one pass catching tight end. So where does that leave Dawson Knox? They tried to play two tight end formations at the start of last year, and then Knox got hurt. And then they never really went back to it the rest of the season. They stayed more in three wide, and now they come into this season, and they've sort of been the same offense. They do, more three wide than they do tight end. Dawson Knox is hardly even involved in the passing game. I mean, he goes out for passes once in a while, but generally when they're in two tight ends, he's in to block, and it's Kincaid out in the formation. So, yeah, it's looking right now like one of the worst contracts that Brandon Beane has given out because it's just not his role in the offense is so minimal, and he's chewing up so much salary cap space.
It's just amazing to me what that whole thing has become. And I know he'll probably, when they make the playoffs, he'll make that unreal, impact once, and he'll catch that touchdown. You're like, oh, hey, Dawson Knox is here. He's arrived again. But, man, for the sustainable part, there isn't even a sustainable part. He's just out there. I know the score said what it said. It took him a long way to get going, a long time. What is it with this McDermott, Beane, Allen era with inferior opponents where they just kind of roll it out there and they look like they're sleepwalking. They can't drive the ball third downs. They can't stop people on defense. The time just keeps chugging along. The Urban Meyer Jags beat them. The Pats with Mac Jones beat them. They lost to Denver at home last year. They should have lost to the Giants last year. They lost to the Jags in London. There's countless situations here. What is it with the inferior opponent in the beginning where they can't? And I know it's matchups in sports and they're still pros and all the nonsense. But what is it about this inferior opponent complex for the Bills where it takes them forever to get going? And by forever, I mean a whole half. That's still a big chunk of the game, is it not?
Yeah. I mean, you're right, Mike. They have had some moments in this era where they have played down with the competition. I mean, the thing is, we've sort of raised our expectations with the Bills so high because of what they've done the last 4 years. So that's part of it. The expectations are high. And the NFL, I don't care what anybody says, and it might sound like a cliche to everybody listening, but there is no easy game in the NFL. There just isn't. It ended up that game looked pretty easy by the end of it, 34-10. But every one of these games are tough. It's not like, in basketball, you can go up against some lousy team and sleepwalk and win by 30. In the NFL, they're all tough. All these guys, like you said, they're paid well. The Titans came into that game, Mike, with the best defense in the NFL. I mean, they're 1-4, but they did have the best defense. And you saw it in the first half. They had the Bills completely screwed up. 3 straight 3-and-outs. They had 7 points at halftime. These games are tough. So I understand that fans get frustrated by the playing down to the level of competition, but there are reasons for it. And the good teams, which I do think the Bills are, find a way to get it turned around. And they did. Second half, they completely dominated that team. It was a complete shit show, quite honestly, for Tennessee. They couldn't do a thing. So the better team won the game.
You're right in basketball, though, because even like I don't watch the NBA. I haven't watched a full NBA game in like 15 years. I think the league's garbage. But you can load manage two guys, and your third superstar goes for 30, game's over. But in the college game, you even see that, right? You see like the second or third player going nuts. Two guys go for 25, 30, and the game's over. Yeah, you're right. Football is a completely different animal. So everybody eats, and then everybody didn't eat. And now is everybody eating again?
Well, that is the way the Bills are going to have to attack because, Amari Cooper is a very nice addition to this team, but he's not Amari Cooper from his Dallas days, for instance, when he was a great player, even his Raiders days when he started. Yeah. He is in decline. He's like Stephon Diggs. He's a 30-year-old guy who has had a great career, but he's not the player that he once was. So anybody who thinks that Cooper is going to come in and all of a sudden get 100 yards per game, that's not going to happen. However, you bring him into the team, and that's a player the defense now has to worry about. He's got pedigree. They know he can still play the game, and the Bills didn't have that player in the first 6 weeks of the season. And we saw it start to manifest itself yesterday. All of a sudden, Keon Coleman is going off for 125 yards. Now, I understand there was a broken tackle in there that gave him 50 free yards, but still, he had a nice game. Khalil Shakir is going to be who he is. He's going to always make the plays that you saw him make yesterday. But everything will be a little bit easier now in the Bills passing game because the defense has to worry about Amari Cooper. So that's a big addition for the Bills, and I think it's going to be impactful. And like I said, we already saw it yesterday against the Titans defense that was number one in the league in pass defense.
The house got very interesting, by the way, here, Sal. My wife has become just a diehard Bills fan. I warned her not to do it, but she did it anyway. And so 1 o'clock Sunday, my favorite game time, by the way. I know that's your favorite too. But, now Bills games are like, oh, Cooper, there's Cooper. And my dog is Cooper, the golden retriever, 90-pounder. So now we don't, the dog doesn't know if I'm getting him something in the other room, a treat or something, or if I'm yelling at the screen. So it's gotten a little interesting because my favorite team has got a Cooper and now my dog is Cooper. So things are definitely more interesting with another Cooper. Sal Maiorana with us, a couple more for him, the outstanding Bills beat man from the Democrat and Chronicle. And hey, catch him and Adam Benini as well on the Believe in Bills podcast, where you get podcasts on your smartphone device. Download that one. That's a must listen and watch every single show. 5-2, I got to tell you, I predicted this team to be 5-2 at this time, and then 7-4, and then eventually 11-6 and win the AFC East. January is January. But that's what I predicted for the whole season. I don't do the game here, game there thing because football, injuries, timing, scheme, where you're at, time zones, road games, everything, it's just so week to week, as you know, Sal. But isn't this about it? I mean, 5-2 for who they are, where they've struggled, who they've played. This is about it, 5-2 to me, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I came into this, the key for me, I didn't even include the Tennessee game when I started thinking about the season as a whole. The first 6 weeks were brutal. I think everybody could agree that going on the road 4 times in 6 weeks, 4 of those games are primetime games against really good teams, right? Baltimore, Houston, we knew would be tough. I picked the Dolphins to win that game in week 2 because I thought going down there early September, everyone's healthy, obviously. I thought the Dolphins would finally get over on the Bills because they've struggled for so many times. I thought that would be a tough game. The Jets, I knew was going to be a tough game, and it was a good win for the Bills. So I figured if they came out of the first 6 4-2, that was a hell of an accomplishment. And that's exactly what happened. Now, it sucked that the 2 games they lost were against 2 teams they could possibly see in January. Houston and Baltimore are going to be problems. So it would have been nice to get one of those and prove they could play. But, they almost beat the Texans, Mike. Right. I mean, for as bad as they played that day, they almost found a way to win that game. So 4-2 after 6 was great. 5-2, hey, keep it rolling. I think it's a nice start to the season.
Yeah, and hey, listen, they were coming back against Baltimore, and then the Brady trick play. You don't know. If they go down and drive on that, maybe they come back and win the game also. If you get Baltimore in January, it's still playoff Lamar. So those things can change, and they have played well against the Ravens. Give me a guy on offense and a guy on defense so far that you're completely and utterly blown away by, from a surprise standpoint, producing well. I got to tell you, Smoot's been great on D.
Yeah, Smoot he'd be high on my list. I mean, he missed the first 2 games, which was too bad. He got a foot injury right at the end of preseason, so clearly they missed him
Yeah.
because as soon as he got into the lineup, he has helped their pass rush. And now with Von Miller down for still 2 more games, that's helped. I mean, Rousseau stepped up big yesterday, had a nice game. But yeah, getting Smoot as a third edge rusher right now because they're not going to play Casey Toohill all that much. That's been a nice addition for the Bills on defense, so I would agree with that one. Offensively, who surprised me? I guess really nobody has surprised me. What I've been surprised at, Mike, is how useless Curtis Samuel has been.
There you go.
I'll go negative there.
Yes,
I really thought he would be able to come in a different skill set and give the Bills some production in several different ways. He has been a complete bust. He's their highest paid receiver. Yeah. And now he's got a shoulder injury. I don't know where that stands moving forward. He's been awful. So I guess I'll go negative there and say what a bust so far, Curtis Samuel.
That's a great choice. All right, I got you, man. Another minute or so. World Series. I'm stunned that the Yankees are here. I really am. I had to see it to believe it. Runners in scoring position. I also thought they'd be short on the pitching. I don't believe in Cashman Boone-led teams. You and I text all the time. I probably bother you too much on that topic, but
you don't.
They're here, and they played, I know, a couple of weak teams, but I do have to credit them. Juan Soto is absolutely unbelievable. Stanton has been a monster. They've gotten away with their fundamental garbage and the base running, all that, because they've had the elite bullpen. The pitching, starting-wise, has held in enough, but it really has been the Soto-Stanton show. I've been shocked by Glaber. You roll all that in there. You take a weak AL, but yet you got to play who you play. You go through the grind, and you get there. No Houston, Baltimore helps. If they were good enough to be here, they'd be here, but we also know what matchups are like, so both can be true in sports. You roll that all in, they're in the World Series, but then the Dodgers are too, Sal. Have at it.
Yeah, I mean, look, my night's not complete, Mike, until you text me and trash talk the Yankees, because that's all I do on Twitter all night is trash talk.
I know, and I can't do
the
that.
Yankees.
I can't.
I know you can't do Twitter. Look, I have not had any faith in this team all year. You know that as well as anybody.
Yes.
There's so many things that this team fundamentally fails at. But somehow, some way, they have found a way to get to this point. And you're right. It's been the superstar players who they've had to have come through have done it. Soto has been great. Stanton, I can't even believe what I'm watching.
I know, me too. And no Judge still. No Judge.
And exactly, because the one superstar you expect to be great has been kind of useless outside of the one huge swing in Game 3, which ended up getting lost in the shuffle anyways. Judge has not helped them at all. No. So to get where they've gotten without him doing much of anything has been kind of remarkable. So we'll see against the Dodgers. I still think LA is the better team. That lineup is a wagon. People will say that sometimes about the Yankees. Well, if they're saying that about the Yankees, they're fooling themselves because there's too many dead outs in New York's lineup. I don't know that they can survive against the Dodgers. I'm going to say Dodgers in 6, Mike. And I hope I'm wrong, obviously, but I just can't see the Yankees beating the Dodgers.
Yeah, that's my pick too. I did all my stuff this morning. I picked Dodgers in 6. And look, the big part too, the Yankees fundamentally and the base running, it's been bad, but Cleveland's they had their moments too. I mean, the drop pop-up, they had mistakes across the board. Relievers are throwing the wrong pitches in sequences still. They decide to pitch to Stanton. That was stupid. Look at the error at second, which brings up Soto. I mean, there's so many different things that other teams did as well. The Royals stopped hitting with runners in scoring position, but I also credit the Yankee bullpen at 15 2/3 of scoreless innings there. So there is another chess piece. The Yankees are that chess piece. It's a nice surprise, as much as I can't stand Cashman and I can't stand Boone sometimes too. It is nice having the Yanks back in the World Series for me. I've always dreamt of a series that's Yankee-Dodger because I want to feel like people did in the 40s and the 50s and the 70s and 81 when they had the split season as well. So I finally got mine, but I think the Dodgers are going to win it in 6. But I love the history, the uniforms, the big markets, the classic games. They're going to be doing that stuff all week long. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And I know you lived through the 70s and the 80s too, and it was an unbelievable time with those two rivals. And it goes all the way back to the boroughs of New York City. Sal Maiorana covers the Buffalo Bills for the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. Go get him on Twitter. Go get him and Adam on the Believe in Bills podcast, where you get podcasts on your smartphone device. Oh, by the way, sign up for Sal's newsletter as well, covering the New York Yankees. Sal, you're the best. Thank you so much, my friend.
All right, Mike. Thanks for having me.